The next texture I'm going to do is bubble wrap. So when you get your packages in the mail from Amazon or wherever, save some bubble wrap. They've got big bubble wrap, large ones, mediums, and small. It doesn't really, it depends what kind of texture you want to create, but you just cut it out to whatever shape you want. This is bubble wrap, the smaller one that I'm using today. The other day when I made this one, I had much larger bubbles, so I just wanted to show you what that looks like. They're all a little different on the size, depending of the bubble wrap that you have. Cut your bubble wrap out with your scissors to the shape that you want. I want to put it in that shape. And then put your paint down. Let's see, what color should I do? I may do a dark ultramarine blue. And I'm going to use a little bit of purple in that. Wow, that's quinacridone purple. Isn't that beautiful color? Gorgeous color. Just put down a couple colors or one color, whatever you want. Now, with the bubble wrap, you've got the smooth side of the bubble wrap and the bumpy side, okay? Take the bumpy side, you paint it, and get it down right away while it's wet. Do not wait. If you wait too long, it's going to dry too much and you're not going to get a reaction. So then I just press it down with my hand. Some people I see, well, they'll take something heavy like their water container and put it on it. You don't have to do that. That does press it down. You're going to get more of a rounder circle if that's what you want, which is fine. But I just usually just push it down with my hands, and you have to let it dry before you pick it up. Just like the saran wrap is still drying. The salt is still reacting. So you want to make sure before you pull these off that your watercolor paper is completely dry. So we just put that down. Now that's got to take some time. While we're waiting for this, we will go on to the next one, and we're going to do a lifting or blotting. I talked about in supplies, Viva paper towels are my favorite to use because they're very soft, they're very absorbent, they don't have any pattern on the paper towels, which would show up possibly when I was lifting. So that's one reason that I like Viva. They are excellent for doing clouds or lifting. So I'm going to put down, now if you want to lift, remember, if you want to lift a lot, you would not want to use a staining color because staining won't lift, right? So this is where you have to think about your colors. And I'm using cobalt blue, which is a transparent color, and I put that down. So I'm going to just show you a wonderful way to do clouds. You ball up your Viva and you push down. You push down. It soaks it up, and I can turn that around and use a different area. And I'm pushing, I'm actually putting a lot of my weight into that. If you don't, and you just go really light, you're not going to lift as much. So a wonderful way, and you could do streaks or whatever you want to do by pushing down, using a paper towel to lift. And these are great, fun way to do clouds. One of my favorite ways to do clouds. So that's lifting with a paper towel. The next one we're going to do is painting a texture. And lifting comes in handy anytime you make a mistake. You can lift as long as you can lift it with a transparent color. So lifting is a great way to get you out of trouble as well, not only just a texture. Painting textures. When in doubt, if you get a picture and you do not know how to simulate how that looks, you can always just paint the texture. I'm looking at these little aspen trees, and I'm just going to paint the bark, the dark bark on the aspen tree. So I'm just coming down with 3 different aspen trees. I'm going to do a base, a little bit of raw sienna with a little bit of Scarlet Lake. And now I really want to dilute that. I just want to, oops, I got the blue in there. Okay. I just really want to dilute that and give it, I call it a blush of a color. Just give them a little bit of color. Now these have to dry a little bit. Things are drying slow today for me here. This is a bit overcast. I don't have to do the limbs yet, the branches on them. This is just has to dry a little bit, because if I come in right now, it's too wet and I will get blooms. But while I'm waiting, I am going to come in and make the brown or blackish branches. So I've got my cobalt blue already in there, and I'm going to take some burnt umber and mix it with the cobalt blue. This is how you make a beautiful gray. You can make black. But when I'm doing the limbs, I want it thick. So I've got to just, and it's always good to have a test piece of paper. I'm going to test this. I want it a little bit darker. So I'm going to put a little ultramarine blue in there. And I'm just wanting it to thick. So I'm feeling, while I'm stirring the paint, I'm feeling how thick it is. If I make it thicker, it won't have a tendency to run as much when I'm going in there. So I'm using a thin brush. You could use also a rigger, but I'm going to come in now. It's going to bloom a little bit. But just coming in and doing my texture on my aspen. Now this one, oh, this is perfect. Good. For example, that was still very wet, so it bloomed, it crawled on me. This one's much drier and is not moving. And let's see what this one's probably in between a little bit, hopefully. So you can see the difference of timing. And I just kind of sporadically come up. You don't want to do a zebra. I say line, line, line. Our brain has a tendency to want to do everything in equal spaces, so just kind of crawl up that tree and make them different marks. Okay, so that's very wet. This actually came out perfect. Very wet. In between, and then that one is dry. So it depends how and when you go in to make your texture, but when in doubt, I say you can always paint texture, paint nooks and crannies and whatever, but here I'm coming back through with the branch. And painting my texture. So when in doubt, you can always paint a texture if you cannot simulate it with something. So there's a few little fun aspens with the different degrees of, that got a little bit out of control, but it was good to show you how they set up, and you do need to wait. That was way too wet to go in. That was nice and dry, which sharper edges bring it closer to you, and then a little further away tree by having it a little bit more blurry. But painting any type of texture you want, as long as you look at it, you can simulate it by painting it.